Football managers have long been defined by tradition, accepted ways of thinking about tactics, player management, and how to handle the media. But one man came into the Premier League and tossed the rulebook out the window. Jose Mourinho didn't just win trophies, he redefined what it meant to manage at the top level. In today's video, we explore how Mourinho broke every convention in English football, shaking up tactics, psychology, and culture, and became one of the most iconic and controversial figures in league history. When Jose Mourinho arrived at Chelsea in June 2004, the Premier League had never seen anything like it. Fresh off winning the UEFA Champions League with Porto, a stunning underdog achievement, he immediately set a new tone. At his first press conference, he famously declared, "Please don't call me arrogant, but I'm European champion, and I think I'm a special one." It wasn't just confidence, it was psychological warfare, designed to take pressure off his players and put it all on himself. From the very start, Mourinho broke the unwritten rule of managerial modesty. In 2004, Arsenal weren't just the reigning champions, they were the Invincibles, fresh off an unbeaten league campaign. Arsène Wenger's free-flowing style had set a new standard in English football, but Mourinho was ready to rewrite that script. In their league meetings that season, Mourinho's disciplined tactics frustrated Arsenal, earning draws both home and away. Chelsea finished the campaign with a record 95 points, 12 clear of Arsenal, and conceded just 15 goals all season. Mourinho didn't just beat Arsenal, he dismantled their dominance and shifted the balance of power. Tactics were only one part of Mourinho's playbook. His mind games were just as calculated. He took aim at rival managers, players and referees, creating media storms that shielded his players from scrutiny. His clashes with Wenger and Rafael Benitez became legendary. He once called Wenger a specialist in failure, shaking Arsenal's fan base and media coverage. With Benitez, he refused handshakes, mocked achievements, and sowed tension ahead of key Champions League matches. Mourinho once even claimed, "I expected at least a thank you for giving him the Inter Milan team that allowed him to win the Club World Cup," belittling Benitez's success with a team Mourinho had built. He targeted referees too. After a 2005 Champions League game against Barcelona, Mourinho accused Anders Frisk of bias, accusations that ultimately led to the referee's retirement after threats and public scrutiny. Mourinho's calculated provocations turned media briefings into psychological battlegrounds. Beyond tactics and mind games, Mourinho disrupted English football's culture. A sport that prized humility and quiet professionalism suddenly had a manager who embraced confrontation and boasted about his accomplishments. Press conferences became must-watch TV. Mourinho's post-match comments often went viral. After a frustrating match in 2015, he gave the media nothing but the phrase, "I have nothing to say," over and over. After losing to Aston Villa in 2014, he told reporters, "I prefer really not to speak. If I speak, I'm in big trouble." Subtle, but sharp. At Chelsea, he reshaped the club's identity. What had been a strong London side turned into a global powerhouse. And it wasn't just about winning, it was about changing expectations, instilling belief, and building a culture of relentless ambition. Mourinho wasn't a passive presence on the sideline. He was loud, animated, and theatrical. His iconic sprint at Old Trafford in 2004 after Porto beat Manchester United? Unforgettable. His touchline scuffle with Wenger in 2014? Pure drama. After Manchester United's dramatic win over Juventus in 2018, he cupped his ear toward the crowd, fueling chaos. These antics weren't just emotion, they were part of the show, part of the strategy, and always part of the headlines. English football, with its emphasis on attacking flair and traditional 4-4-2s, met its match in Mourinho's Chelsea. He brought structure, pragmatism, and defensive solidity, qualities English teams often undervalued. He popularized the 4-3-3 and later the 4-2-3-1, focusing on compact defense, midfield control, and lethal counterattacks. Across his first 2 seasons, Chelsea lost just 6 games, earned 186 points, and conceded only 15 goals in one of those seasons, a record still unmatched. Even the phrase "park the bus," coined sarcastically by Mourinho, became a hallmark of his tactics. Deep defensive blocks, ruthless efficiency, and clinical counters. It wasn't always pretty, but it worked. One of Mourinho's underappreciated strengths was his bond with key players. At Chelsea, stars like Lampard, Drogba, Terry, and Cech formed a tight unit. Drogba has credited Mourinho with turning him into a European superstar. John Terry famously said he'd leave the pitch in a coffin for Mourinho. In one match, Mourinho instructed Terry and Cahill to intentionally collide for a header, so both could receive treatment and stay on the pitch, an example of his clever, rule-bending mind. His players trusted him completely. Of course, not all relationships lasted. At United, he clashed with Pogba and Luke Shaw, At Chelsea, he butted heads with Hazard and Diego Costa, but Mourinho always balanced praise, provocation and pressure, reminding the football world that managing egos is just as important as managing tactics. Mourinho didn't just lift trophies, he changed the way managers approach the Premier League. His emphasis on control, discipline and psychological dominance paved the way for today's elite managers. He showed that success doesn't always follow the traditional path. By breaking conventions, challenging norms and doing things his way, Mourinho redefined English football's managerial blueprint. Even after leaving Chelsea, United and Spurs, his shadow remains. His style, once controversial, is now standard. His influence, unmistakable. Love him or hate him, Jose Mourinho reshaped the Premier League. He didn't break the literal rules, he rewrote the unwritten ones. Did his methods elevate the league, or did they hurt the traditions of the game? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into football's greatest stories. See you next time.